Hello, everyone. This week I wanted to talk about the changes I made to the movie server and what I think of the parts that I got for it. So, if you remember, I started off with an old piece of hardware that I had, put a couple of external hard drives on it to handle both two parts of the Jellyfin application from my perspective, which was movies all on one and everything else over on the other drive. So I had a Jellyfin and a Jellyfin additional set of drives. It worked okay. It was a very old computer. I'm talking probably 15 plus years. The hard drives had been used for other things, so it wasn't a new set of anything in there. Even the external drives that I had were older drives. That gave me some issues where the drives sometimes would act funny. And if you didn't hear my podcast about getting a piece of software of some kind for you to keep track of your drives and to make sure that they are functioning properly, go back and listen to that. I really like the software that I've gotten. There is one that you can get for Windows that comes out of the Windows Store. But this one's called Hard Drive Sentinel. And what Hard Drive Sentinel will do is keep track of your drives, get reports from the drives to tell you how the drives are performing and how healthy they are and how long until failure, which is a very important piece, especially with what we're going to be talking about today. And that's because of all of the writing that's going to happen on one of the drives. So let me start with the machine and then we'll get into those details as we go through this. So I got, and I'll be putting this up as episode 57 in the Life Hacks and Stuff blog that I post. But what we've got here is the tower, right? I used a Fantex Enthro PH ES614 PC Black, or Papa Hotel Echo Sierra 614 Papa Charlie. It cost under $150. And I'll have all of the full prices that I paid up on the blog site. But what I liked about this, it is a big tower. But what I wanted something that would allow me to put multiple DVD drives in it. It seems very hard to get towers these days that allow for multiple DVD drives. They'll take one, maybe two. I wanted to have at least three, which this will allow me to do. It looks from the front like it's four, but that's actually because the top part is a pair of USB ports and headphone and mic jacks that you can put in the front of it. It is big. It is beefy. It has a large fan on the front cover, a single fan. It has a smaller fan on the back cover. It has a series of drive trays. So from right below where the DVD drives fit in is all trays all the way to the bottom. And I believe there is close to 10 trays that you've got in there. These, you squeeze them, pull them out, you drop the drive into it. It's got the pin type on the side. You can put screws in the back to hold it tight, but it's got a pair of pins on the side. You just pull those out, put your drive in, pop the pins into the holes in the drive, and slide it in. The drives are meant to be mounted so that the connectors are facing where you pull it out from. All right, so that springy piece that you got that you pull, you squeeze and pull out, that's where your connection pieces are going to be. It has a unique, at least from what I've seen, piece on the back. So when you put your CPU cooling fan in, you usually plug it into CPU, but not with this tower configuration. Your CPU cooler is going to plug into the fan in the back. On the back side of it is a little power hub that's going to plug into a SATA port one of your SATA power ports. And that's going to allow it to get the power to run both your cooling fan as well as the other fans in the system. It's a little power block that it's got in the back there. It's unique. Now, when you work on the box and you're facing it, on the right-hand side is where you're going to put the drives in. So you have to take that panel off to put the drives in that side. You have to take the other panel off to get to the motherboard, the memory, and all of that. So if you're putting in drives, you only have to pop one side off, pop the drives in, and put them there, assuming you already have power in place and SATA connections in place. Probably you don't. So that means you're going to have to take both sides of the computer apart in order to handle that. It's a bit of a problem from my perspective. It just seems a little bit more onerous than if they'd put things on the one side. But then again, a lot of the stuff was meant to go out through the back ports so that it's on the back side of the computer and not in the front where you're working on it, which is good, but only if you have certain pieces that are actually going to allow you to do that. And again, you have to take it apart. It has a spot on the left-hand side that'll take a SATA drive and allow you to screw that in place so that your SATA drive will sit off to that side. So it's in the same spot as when you're working on the motherboard. That said, the motherboard that I got was an Asus Prime Z390. I got it off of eBay, used refurb, had an i9 99K processor, and came with 32 gigs of RAM. All right, so that sent me back just over $400 for that whole motherboard. The one thing it did not come with was a cooler. I was able to pick up a CPU cooler, a Thermalite Peerless Assassin 1120 CE for $34.90. If you haven't seen one of those, it's a massive piece that goes into your computer. You can only put it in a tower configuration, and it fits in here very nicely, with one exception. It has two fans on it that blow across the cooling fins that attach to the CPU. And why I say fits nicely, to an extent, one of the fans is going to sit over the memory. And because it's sitting over the memory, it doesn't quite slide all the way down. The other tower I've got worked okay. This one, not quite so much. It doesn't quite make it all the way down. But it's okay because it doesn't need to in order to seat properly and to do its job. From there, I added an NVIDIA RTX 3060 Ventus card, again a refurb. That only cost me $286, so less than $300 for the card. The cooler, like I said, was about $35, so we had another under $300 for the graphics card. The reason I went with this graphics card is Jellyfin allows you to do hardware transcoding, which takes the load off the CPU. Now, this was more of a case with the second computer that I put in place. The first one kind of held up okay. The second one had onboard graphics only and started having stuttering issues when I went to a Blu-ray disc. And if you haven't seen the output of a Blu-ray disc, those discs have a much larger file than a straight DVD. Because of that, there's more of it to transcode, and that was causing a little bit of an issue. So I added a graphics card in there capable of taking that transcoding workload off of the CPU. The power supply, I went with the Corsair RM750X. Now, if you haven't seen these, it's a different type of power supply. A typical computer power supply has the cable with all of its power coming out the back of it. This one isn't. It's a block. It's a modular system that has ports on it that you plug in only the cables you're going to use. So no more do you have cables that you need to try to tuck here or tuck there so they're out of the way. That's the plus side. The downside is because the ports are all facing you when you have the computer open, And the cables are such a length, you can't push those cables through the back of the motherboard or behind the motherboard and bring them up and around. They're just not long enough. It would be nice if you had that option, or if they had a series of cables that once you bought the unit, you could go get those cables. The Corsair was under $100 for that. It did a great job. It has 4 spots that you can plug in to power your SATA devices. And of course, each one of those lines coming out has 4 powers on it. So that's 16 SATA devices you can power off of this unit. I needed to get it because while the other unit I had everything I needed, I was missing one little piece, and it must have been something that I had hooked in off of one of the other power ports, but I couldn't find the port that I needed for the graphics card. The 3060 requires its own power, and it's the exact same power configuration as the CPU, which this unit took care of. So that's why I got a new power supply. So the tower's new, the power supply's new, the CPU cooler's new. The operating system was Mint because it didn't cost me anything to load Mint on it. The next component was a Samsung 87 EVO 4 terabyte new drive. This drive is going to be the operating system, and I'm going to let Jellyfin use that for transcoding. So I have an SSD in place for the transcoded information, which will make this much faster, regardless of the fact that the computer already is faster based off of the CPU and GPU that's in there. For the Jellyfin drive, I went and bought a refurbed 12 terabyte, 3.5-inch MDD drive, which was used for security video. All right. Security video ones have a longer life expectancy to them. But again, other than me putting the information on there for the movies, right, as I rip the DVDs, it's just going to be a read drive. So it should hold up for a very long time, and it only cost $140. Not bad for a 12 terabyte drive. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a backup drive yet. I've got to figure out how I'm going to do that. I could put another drive inside the computer. I've got plenty of room to put drives into it, because the only thing I'm using right now are 2 drive bays, and the SSD is off to the side, so I have a bunch of drive bays that I can use to put backups in, or add more drives if I want to for the Jellyfin. The 4 terabytes that I had was getting filled up, and probably would be filled up at this point, but I will let you know that there was a mix of Blu-ray, very few, but there were some Blu-rays and DVDs, and I had over 400 movies on there, and I had almost 500 episodes of television programming on there. Television programming, again, was a mix, very, very few Blu-ray starts from those. It was mostly all DVD, but 900 videos on there, not including the ones that I added personally or the audiobooks that I recorded for a friend that are in there. So it would have lasted for a good long time at 4 terabytes. So the 12 terabyte drive should last me even longer, obviously. I may have to add another drive. And Jellyfin is very good at you being able to tell a library that it has multiple sources for it. So you don't have to worry about setting up a RAID array or anything like that. You can just tell it the multiple drives. You do want to back it up. And like I said, that's what I've got to work on next. Now, I went out and bought a verbatim V1550 256 gig SSD and a tray. It cost me $60. And here's why I did this. We were talking about hard drive life before. And of course, all these drives, even the refurbed one that I got, are coming back perfect at this point. It also allows me to keep track of the heat in there. So if you're a little worried about where your computer is, this one runs really cool with all the fans running, and it's fairly quiet in that tower. This tower is a sealed tower. There's no glass on it. It has an open top, so I can put my hand over the top and feel what the heat is coming out of it. So it's been running very cool and quiet. It has a the two fans on the case itself. There's another fan on the power supply. There's 3 fans on the 3060 graphics card, and the CPU cooler has 2 fans on it. So it's a lot of fans that are running in there, and it runs very quietly. But here's what I wanted to do. The transcoding is going to end up on that 4 terabyte 870. So having 4 terabytes means that I have room should that drive start to have sector issues, that it can go move stuff to other places, and there'll probably be more than enough space on that drive than what I need. Again, it's just going to be a read-write every time we do a viewing of a movie, and the only other read-write to it is going to be what I do for setting up the operating system and upgrading any of the software that's in there. The Verbatim I got, it's a small drive. It won't last long as far as how much stuff I can put on it, but I'm using it to rip the DVDs to. I had an external USB that would occasionally flag me that the software was reading the DVDs faster than it was writing across this USB that was on a KVM switch. So it wasn't the most optimal situation that I had. But I wanted to get a cheap drive for this purpose because it's going to have a lot of reading and writing to it. Right? Every time I rip a DVD, it's going to write to it, and then I got to copy it off into the Jellyfin drive. So as it's doing all of its writing, all of that load is going to be on this SSD. It will not be on the main drive, but it'll be here. And if that becomes too much, all of that activity on it causes the drive to fail, it's a $60 drive, as opposed to the almost the $260 that it cost me for the 4 terabyte. So I would rather grab a commercial drive, a cheap commercial drive, which I can probably drive down to the store and get. The 4 terabyte is harder to get a hold of. And this will just give me something that I can just swap in and out as needed, if I need it. Like I said, I've got 900 transcoded already into the system from the DVDs. So I'll be doing more, obviously, and it won't be quite the load that it's been going in on the initial, but it could still be quite a bit of a load. And I just felt a little more confident having a cheap commercial drive that I could just, or a consumer drive that I could just throw in there and throw away if there's a problem. I got a 3.5-inch tray for it, so it just pops into one of my open bays. I can just pull it out, pop a new drive in, and go. So it's quick and easy should it fail on me. That said, now let's talk DVDs. Now, I've got 2 DVDs in there, and I didn't include the second one in the price because I've had it for years. I bought a Pioneer BDR S13 UBK. That's Bravo Delta Romeo Sierra 13 Uniform Bravo Kilo. It cost me $221 for that DVD. Now, why did I get an expensive Pioneer when there are cheaper DVD drives out there? And that's the other reason I left the other DVD off. DVD drives are inexpensive. However, occasionally, especially if you're grabbing used DVDs, which I have done on multiple occasions, if I can't find a cheap new one or an inexpensive new one, or there's a huge price difference between a new and a used, I'll go with the used if I can. So sometimes the drive will not work properly on a regular DVD drive for multiple reasons. I've got a very small external USB DVD read writer, and sometimes it doesn't work just because it vibrates a little too much. It's too small, it's too light. The Pioneers are very good at reading those discs that other things would have a problem with. I liked it so much that I went and tried another Pioneer one, BDR 2213, Bravo Delta Romeo -2213. That was $120. So it's $100 less for the other drive. And I wanted to see if they both worked the same, and they pretty well do. I've got the other one in a second computer at this point until I move it over. Both of the Pioneers also give me the opportunity to read Blu-ray, which my old DVD drive does not. But the computer, with the abilities that it has currently, I can rip drives off of, or rip the DVDs from both drives simultaneously. So that's giving me some extra flexibility in grabbing things in. Like when you buy something big, like I bought Andromeda. That series has 110 episodes to it. It's going to take a while to grab those and throw them in. But in theory, I could run both of those, run 2 discs off the 2 drives, and they come 2 discs per what they call a collection. And there's 5 collections or 6 collections within a season. So they don't put a lot of information on each DVD, but I could throw the 2 DVDs and rip the 2 and then convert them over and put them in. So that gives me some flexibility. That said, if I include the 2 Pioneer drives into this kit, it came in at under $1,800, which I consider to be very reasonable. Now, I did all of the work putting the computer together myself. I didn't have to hire anybody to go do that. Again, the motherboard, processor, and memory are refurbed. The graphics card is a refurb, and the 12 terabyte drive is a refurb. This would be more expensive, obviously, if you went and bought new components for all of these things. But I don't see the reason, if something is working, why not just grab it and use it as opposed to throwing it away? It creates less electronic waste, and it allows somebody, if they're especially gamers. Gamers like to upgrade their computers as quickly as possible. A lot of gamers build their own computers rather than buy them. And so this lets them have a home for their leftover equipment, and they can use the money from what they sold it for to help buy the next thing. And $400 is really reasonable for what I got. Processors are going to be your most expensive component in most computers. They're going to be $1,000 or so. So I figured I made out pretty good with an i9 with this configuration. This is the same configuration that I bought back in 2019 when I was putting together a computer for getting my photo stuff done. So it runs all of the Lightroom and Photoshop, as well as I'm currently using it now to record. I use it to game. It's got more than enough power to handle all of that stuff. It also has 32 gigs of RAM. So my Jellyfin server is almost identical. 2 things that it differs on is the fact that it's running different operating systems. But the NVIDIA card I've got is a 2060 instead of a 3060. And the gaming machine I've got does not have DVD drives, nor does it have space to put the DVD drives. It was one of those units that it just didn't have any spot for it. It's just a straight face on it. No place to put anything like that in. And it's got glass on the side. Not that I really care about the lights and things. That's not my thing. I just want a computer that's going to do what I wanted to do. And this is going to do what I needed to do. I'm running some tests on it. I've got a friend who hooks in externally and remotely. We haven't had a chance to vet it yet. Just finished it up this weekend. So we will see how that goes. I've done some tests running Blu-ray locally, and I haven't had the same stutter that I had before. I did find a couple of transcoding issues that I had in place because of it. The 3060 has a limit as to what it can transcode. There's certain file types that it does not do well with. So I needed to make sure that those were not set up in Jellyfin to transcode to. but it's doing H.264 just fine, MPEG-2 just fine. So it's doing what I needed to do to get the videos out and usable. Like I said, I'll have all the stuff up on the Life Hacks and Such, Life Hacks and Stuff website, so that you can see the details for all of this stuff. It was a mixture of places that I got things from. I got some stuff from Newegg. I got some stuff from Staples, from Amazon, from eBay, from Adorama, and from B&H. So I shopped around a little bit to go find out what I could get, where I could get it. Sometimes it came down to just where could I find it. That 870 EVO 4 terabyte was a fun thing to have to find, and find at a good price. But that's what I got for you guys this week. Next week, I'm going to talk about the Creality K2 that I've got. Had a interesting little problem come up, so I'll talk about that. I'll talk about the mishap that happened while I was trying to address the issue, and what it really took to finally address the issue. But that's what I got for you guys this week, and I will talk to you all next week.